Welcome to Strategic Solutions for HR and Voc Rehab professionals. I'm Beth De Lima, and today we're going to talk about the Family Medical Leave Act and the challenges when the employees don't comply with getting you that 15-day medical certificate confirming their serious health condition. Now, remember, in the state of California and other states that have a state-specific regulation, you need to comply with those specific criteria. And in California, you cannot use the Department of Labor medical certificate. So make sure you are using a state-specific certificate. So what do you do when an employee contacts you and say they need 3 weeks of leave or they need ongoing as needed intermittent leave? Let's start by talking about designation. We want to start by conditionally designating the FMLA leave. So the employee knows they're protected while they have the obligation to get us their medical certificate confirming their serious health condition and the nature of the leave that is needed. Now, remember, when you send that medical certificate, you're sending it confirmed delivery, certified mail, or FedEx to make sure you got a record that they received the document. Go ahead and send it regular mail also, but be sure and send it these other ways also so you've got confirmation they received it. Once you send that first FMLA designation letter, and I'm going to open this up so you can see how our resources help you in managing these challenges. So we're going to start by conditionally designating the FMLA designation, and they get 15 days to get that to you. I'm just going to take a minute and open this up to you so you can see the resources behind the screen. So let's start by looking at the FMLA designation. We're going to talk about this from the federal level so everybody understands at the USA level what your responsibilities are. What you're looking at quickly are just resources that are available to understand these nuances to these regulations. And then we get to the actual document yourself. So what we've got is we've got two different strategies that we use for designating and conditionally designating FMLA. First of all, we've got an conditional designation letter for the employee and then one for the family member, but we also have them with workers' comp. And the reason we have these letters with workers' comp also is because we want the employee to absolutely understand it is their obligation to get us confirmation that meets the criteria under FMLA to be protected under FMLA. Now, with workers' comp, it's very unlikely that a workers' comp injury is not going to meet the criteria under FMLA at all times. So if they're eligible, we're going to just designate them as FMLA with workers' comp with that simple workers' comp certificate you get that has enough information for you to understand that there's a serious medical condition. However, you don't have a workers' comp certificate and you're simply getting that conditional designation letter. In our letter, we're saying, give us 15 days and get that certificate to us. But if they don't, we're not just denying. We are going to send a second request letter. And that's an incredibly important strategy. So what we're suggesting to you is you start by designating someone, and then you give them 2 weeks, 15 days, you get that medical certificate to you. And if they don't get you that medical certificate, we're going to send them another letter. And our letters are very specifically designed to address the employee's responsibility. So they never have any confusion of what we are expecting them to do to stay protected by this benefit of family medical leave that allows them to take this ongoing leave. So if they don't get that medical certificate back to us in 15 days, we're going to send a second request letter. And that second request letter is going to say, hey, we sent you a request. Was there some confusion? We're going to give you another 7 days in order to get us that certificate. But by the way, if you don't, we're going to deny your FMLA leave. And everybody, this is a strategy choice of yours. Because I can tell you this, when you deny FMLA, and let me just show you again really quickly. When FMLA ends, ADA begins all the time, every time, no matter what, unless it's not their own serious health condition. So we're going to deny that FMLA. We're going to send them an ADA conditional designation letter that includes a 5-page medical certificate that requests them to tell us by function of their job how their disability impacts their ability to do their job. And what we've discovered over the last 30 years that we've been doing this is that when you do that, the employees send you the FMLA certificate because they don't want to fill out a complex ADA interactive process document. So that's how we implement the strategy for denial if an employee fails to provide that medical certificate. Now, how many times can you ask for the document? And I'm reading these questions because I'm reading them off an actual scenario that somebody asked us. And they said, well, how many times can you ask for documentation to be turned in before you deny FMLA? And actually, the regulation doesn't give you any directions about that at all. So what we did is we created a strategy because I've been working with the FMLA since it passed, and we discovered that this is one of the biggest areas of challenge. So what we do is we send that second request letter and let them know very clearly they will be denied if they don't get us that certificate. And we've got very specific denial documentation to inform them about that. And this denial letter says, by the way, if you ever get us a certificate, we'd be happy to designate you. And then we will roll back however many months we need to and retroactively designate if they in fact provide us a medical certificate before they got terminated for AWOL and violating our attendance policy. All these strategies are very specific and very well thought out and have very clear documentation and designation and reminder letters and denial letters and transition letters. So the employee is incredibly well and has no opportunity to indicate that they don't understand what we're asking. Can the employer designate FMLA without getting that medical certificate? Well, there's an interesting question. If you have a standard operating procedure that indicates that when you have enough information that you know or should have known that the employee is potentially protected under FMLA because of their own serious medical condition, and this is what we're talking about today, just their own serious medical condition, you are obligated to protect them under FMLA and designate. So yes, you do designate, even if you only have a workers' comp certificate, or maybe you have some other simple certificate that gives you enough information to know that they qualify. But if you're going to deny because they don't qualify, because you're not getting all the medical certificates, then that will become your procedure to deny without the certificate. And then the question is, how long do you wait? And I am very, very adamant about this, everybody. It needs to be a timeline that you can consistently implement. What does that mean? That means, like ours, and let me show you again, our system is we designate, you get 15 days. If you provide us a medical certificate confirming you've got a serious health condition within 15 days, we're going to be sending you a second request letter that is very explicit and very well developed to get at this issue for the employees so they understand their responsibilities. And then we're going to expect them to get us that letter within 7. And if they don't get it to us within 7, every employee is denied FMLA after 3 weeks of failing to provide a medical certificate. And every employee is then designated potentially ADA, because when FMLA ends, ADA begins all the time, every time, no matter what, unless it's not their own serious health condition, it's a family member. Then, of course, you wouldn't just be denied because they failed to provide the certificate. The challenge is, if you don't deny after 3 weeks, how long will you give them to get you that certificate? What if they take 6 weeks? Okay. You want to give them 6 weeks? Okay. You are now going to give everybody 6 weeks. That's your new standard operating procedure. People get 6 weeks to get you that certificate. But even if you're doing that, follow my strategy and keep sending repetitive letters with a demand and finally a final notice. So when they don't provide us, and let me show you again, when they don't provide us a response to that first request letter, and they don't provide us a response to that second request letter, and now it's been a little over 3 weeks, I am sending the denial letter. And the denial letter is saying, you failed to provide the medical certificate. So we're not even clear you're qualified. And then everybody, this is one of the most important parts of this process. If and when you deny FMLA, you want a big black line between your choice to deny FMLA protection and implementing your AWOL procedure or your attendance procedure. Because one is a policy violation, your attendance procedure, and the other one is failure to provide the data necessary for you to protect them under a compliance regulation that if they are qualified for, you will absolutely protect them under. So should we be stating that every doctor's note could turn into FMLA? Well, sure. Of course, every doctor's note could turn into FMLA, because as soon as you know or should have known that an employee has a potentially qualified medical condition under FMLA, or they're requesting something for a family member, you are obligated to get that letter, that conditional designation letter out, or the eligibility notice designation letter out within 5 working days. And if you get that letter out within 5 working days, and they take 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks to get you the medical certificate, and you allow them that long, I only recommend 3, then you get to retroactively designate and start that from the day that they originally asked. Because you got the letter, eligibility, conditional designation letter out within 5 working days. If you did not do that, everybody, if you didn't get the letter out within 5 working days, once you know or should have known of that request for protection under FMLA, the FMLA designation date does not start till you send the letter, because otherwise you would be retroactively designating, and that's never going to be okay. Now, let me just clarify that. Of course, it's okay if you and the employee agree on it and you get something in writing that says, let's start that FMLA from 3 months ago when you thought you didn't know that you were qualified, but then you provide me something and I'll let you know you were. Because then we get to remove all of those attendant points that you collected. So everybody, take a breath. This is complex stuff. It can get overwhelming. We're here to help. We're here to answer those scenarios and those questions that are confusing and more than you have been trained on before. Send us your question. We'll be happy to help answer them here. Have a great day today, everybody. Take care.